Pauly Long, finally got you on the podcast, Mr. Bali himself.
Yes. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Like I said, we were going to meet up in Bali, but obviously you just had a kid, so congrats on that. I mean, how's that been?
Yeah, all good, man. 3 boys under 3 years. I hired 3 nannies to make sure that the house doesn't run amok and turn into a wasteland. And I'm not sleeping very much. It's good. It builds character, dude. It's built a lot of character, and it forces me to level up, and it challenges me in new ways every single day. And I learn. My kids teach me things, teach me good life virtues every day on how to be a better father, a better man, which also correlates to me being a better husband. So yeah, man, it's really good. It's great. It's the best thing ever. All I want to do is just hang out with my kids and my wife all day, every day. If I could, I would just never work again and just family time 24/7. It's the best thing ever. So yeah, life is good, man. It's the hardest. This is the hardest my life has ever been. Not in a sense of like I'm struggling. I've obviously struggled, very bad, and I've been in some deep, dark places in my life, but this is the most challenging my life has ever been, right? Because even when you're like struggling mentally or whatever, but you're just like working a job, whatever, like your life isn't actually that hard. You're just struggling mentally. But now my life is not struggling anymore, but it's challenging in order to keep growing, and keep growing and to keep myself in check physically and mentally, and to keep being able to build and work on these businesses that I want to build, and then also find the proper balance between, family time and business time, and what's too much on each end and what's too little on each end. It's crazy, man. But it's
we're on opposite sides of the spectrum, because you've gone and done that, and you are now rich in many men's eyes, which is like the end goal, which is absolutely amazing and good to hear. But I'm on the opposite of a man that's not a father yet and not had the kids. So I don't know how that would impact my life. But my way of thinking has always been kind of, let me get successful, let me build my business first. But I hear from people and men like you that, no, that actually boosts it. That actually makes you want to do more and be more successful.
It's a double-edged sword because it's like, if you can figure out how to build everything that you want to build before the kids come, then kudos to you and more power to you, because when they get there, you'll have a lot more freedom, and therefore you'll have a lot more time to spend with them once you realize how amazing it is and how valuable it is. Right now, you don't realize how amazing family time is. You don't realize it yet. And I didn't realize it before I had kids. And I was always one of those people who was like, yeah, I'm sure I'll have kids one day, but I'm not going to be like, those parents who like have to be with them 24/7. And I thought I was Mr. Tough Guy, and I was like, oh yeah, people just have kids so they can just like rely on them for their happiness and give up in life. Like that was me. I was an asshole. I was like such a skeptical douchebag about it. And then like I had my firstborn, and I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever.
You got a Vauxhall mom van. You're taking them to soccer.
We're actually going to soccer today. I swear, literally after this podcast, we're going to soccer. Yeah,
I love that. So is that soccer in Bali? They call it football in England. That's what we call it. Is that the same thing in Bali? Okay, yeah.
I'm not gonna ever switch over and
don't do it.
Soccer football. I'm from America, bro. Like I'm not gonna start calling soccer football. It's the most confusing.
But let's go there, because Pauly, you've got quite an amazing story. I've only heard parts of it, but I really want to really dig into it today. I mean, so start from the beginning, because you're obviously from America. You've moved to Bali, which a lot of people in 2025 are doing. I'm personally moved over to Australia, which is quite close. So walk me through your beginnings in America, how you started getting into business, what was, your struggles, and then kind of you moved to Bali.
Oh man, how far back do you want me to go? Like my life story in a nutshell, or like?
Yeah, I mean, where you were born in America, and then what you kind of was working as and got you over here.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Yeah. I was born in central Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, back in 1992. I'm 33 years old now, and my parents split when I was 2 years old. So my mom went to Connecticut with me then. My dad stayed in Pennsylvania. for the first 10 years of my life at that point. I would only see my dad every 3 weekends, and then I would go with him for 2 months in the summer and not see my mom for 2 months. So I had a really weird dynamic growing up that gave me a very different perspective on life than the traditional family unit, which I just never grew up with. So they split when I was 2. My mom and I went to Connecticut every 3rd weekend. I would get home from school on Friday. I would eat, a snack, and then my mom and I would get right in the car and drive from Connecticut to New Jersey, which is like a couple hours with no traffic, or like 3 to 4 hours with traffic. Get out of the car, say bye, get in, walk across the car and get in my dad's car. And then we would drive from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, get there. It's like nighttime already. We eat a quick dinner, stay up for an hour, watch TV, and I go to bed. And then we spend Saturday together. And then we get up Sunday, have breakfast, and then we go back to New Jersey. And then I get out of his car, back in my mom's car, and then we drive. So this is like minimum 4 hours of travel every 3rd weekend. There, and then another minimum 4 hours travel back, and then no dad or whatever for like 3 weeks. So it was just weird, man. I grew up with this like really weird dynamic, and it gave me a very unique perspective on life, and it made me an introvert, which I later found out was one of the best things ever, because being an introvert with a very weird dynamic growing up and all that, and I didn't have any siblings until my dad and my stepmom. He met my stepmom when I was 3. They had my sister, my half sister, when I was 8. I was always kind of like a lone child as well. Yeah. So it made me very observational, and it made me it boosted like my awareness, because I was kind of like reserved. So I was always just watching. And I think that's like one of my superpowers, man, because it just kind of made me who I am today. And I'm very observational about things, and I pick up on a lot of things that most people don't, because when you're a kid, you're doing a lot of stuff and you're not really focusing. Whereas me, I was always the one that was like just kind of like watching everybody and very quiet. So anyway, everything happened for a reason, man. And I don't know, man. I don't know how like in depth we could go here, but basically I moved to Pennsylvania when I was 10, and we moved back in with my dad at that point. My mom moved to Pennsylvania as well. Then we would see each other every other weekend, whatever. Went to high school in Pennsylvania, kind of near the Philly area. So I was always in like the Philly area for a very long time. Graduated high school, went to university right out of high school in northeast PA, Bloomsburg, PA, some like crappy little old town. I only went there because a bunch of my friends were going there. I had no idea what I wanted to do with college. I didn't know anything. So I just went undeclared and took general education classes because I thought I had to, and I was just following the system. And I went there. I got a 1.0 GPA my first semester. And the first week we were there, before classes even started, it was like orientation week. Yeah. I got an underage and got arrested. I got blackout drunk, got an underage, got arrested, got driven in the cop car into the holding tank on campus, had to spend the night there on the concrete floor, cold as hell, puking and shit. And I had to call my parents the next day and say, "Hey, I got an underage." I don't know what to say. Yeah, and then I proceeded to be a complete degenerate for like those next 4 months. Went home. My parents were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I was like, "I'll do better when I go back." Didn't do better when I went back. Did even worse. Ended up dropping out April 1st. So by now this is 2011. I graduated 2010 in high school. So April 1st, 2011, I withdrew from university. My mom came and picked me up. I had my head down and my tail between my legs, and I went home and very humbled and not knowing what I was going to do. And then I just started working a bunch of odd jobs. I just started working, and then I tried going back to community college, like my local community college, where there's no campus to stay on, or there's no dorms or anything to stay on, no on-campus living. It's just a community college. Went back to there, did great the first semester, and then second semester was doing great again, and then I literally was like, "Fuck this, I'm out," and I just stopped going. Like I wasn't because I was failing or anything. I had like all A's and B's, and I was just like, "This is stupid," and something I knew in my head, I was like, "This is not for me."
Not for you. I mean, let's touch on support. That's really interesting. I mean, because I feel like I've been saying this a lot, and I feel like you don't know much about life until 30, or you haven't figured you close a lot off about your life. Now, touching on your parents' point, I mean, that's exactly the same as my situation with my parents. And I love the saying from Tony Robbins, if my mom was the mom that I wanted to have, then I would not have the life that I have now. So it's like, it's almost like those situations that, like I say, I went through divorce, became a recluse, those type of things. Most successful people drop out of college or think it's not for them, etc. I mean, I grew up a singer, I went to university in England and did that sort of thing. So it's completely different to what I'm doing now, but yeah, completely thought it was a scam. So diving into that psychology, like Sigmund Freud, the relationship with your parents, siblings, so impactful as the man you become after you kind of turn 30. I don't know about you. I'm a year older than you. I'm 34, and I'm dealing with understanding. There's nothing bad in my past, but same as you, I went house to house. My earliest memories of my mom was coming in from her 9 to 5 and then going to her night shift and being absolutely broken. So the same thing with my dad going to work. So my mindset was, I don't want this to be this scarcity. I need to build a life. I need to always have options. I need to, build that kind of power in my life. So seems similar to you. Okay, so you got to college, you dropped out. What happened after that? I mean, was it a similar situation with me where you were like, I want to make money?
I was 19 by then, so I just started working jobs, and then I was chasing girls, and I was drinking and whatever, and I had a drinking problem back then. I used to get sick and puke all the time because I couldn't handle my alcohol, and I ended up in the hospital a couple of times. Right. My mom got home one day, and I was blacked out on the floor, laying in a pile of vomit in my bedroom. She thought I was dead, called the ambulance and everything. So I was a wreck, man. This was when I was 19, 20 years old. Got in trouble with the cops a bunch of times. I used to get pulled over all the time. I was a horrible driver. I got in tons of car accidents, and so I was a reckless kid, man, like a reckless teenager, and into my 20s as well. When I turned 21, by the way, too, I started balding when I was 18. So when I was 18 years old, I started balding and losing my hair. So that took a massive whack at my self-esteem.
Big for guys,
yeah, everything, bro. It just really wrecked me. And so that was another reason why I just kept consuming alcohol and smoking weed and just doing whatever. So I started losing my hair at 18. I finally shaved my head bald for the first time when I was 21. And, then I started taking the gym seriously because I was like, I'm not going to be bald and skinny and look like I have like cancer. Like, not even trying to make fun, joke, but literally, I was like a twig back then. Like, I was a freaking twig. So I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be like this scrawny bald guy at 21 years old. Like, what am I doing? So I just got jacked. And so once again, just what you said, everything happens for a reason, bro. Like, I truly don't think that I would have actually worked out so much if I hadn't lost my hair. I probably would have just been this skinny, scrawny dude my whole life. But going bald was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it motivated the shit out of me to get super in shape. And I used to be huge. Right now, I'm 90, 95, 96 kilograms, which I believe is around 208 to 9 pounds.
Heavyweight is 210 and above.
I used to be between 230 and 240 pounds at the same body fat I'm at now, or even less. I was a massive dude in my 20s. And so it was the best thing ever, man. It got me in shape. So anyway, I didn't become a victim of my circumstances, but instead learned how to use that as fuel. And that also paved the way for me later in life. But going back to 21, very monumental part of my life here. As I had alcohol troubles my whole teen years and into that, I turned 21, and it was 3 months into that, I believe. I was going out almost every night because I worked in a restaurant. I worked in restaurants at this time, right? Because I told you I was working a bunch of jobs. Yeah. So I worked in restaurants at this time, and the restaurant that I worked at, we would go out every night. It was just what we did, right? You get done your shift, we go out for beers. So we went to the bar that we always went to, and it was a big party night at the bar, which I think it was a Tuesday or something, but it was triple shot Tuesday or some bullshit like that, right? Yeah. So we're ripping, Red Bull vodkas and stupid shots and all this dumb shit. And bar closes at 2. I'm driving home, with a 0.16 blood alcohol level, and which is twice over the legal limit, right? Literally exactly 2 times over the legal limit. I had this little I had bought this car earlier that year, and it was an Acura RSX. It was this little like coupe sports car, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it had like a manual shifter, but it wasn't like a real manual shifter because I never actually knew how to drive manual shift. Never learned. It was like a little fake one that you could like alternate between automatic and manual. And so I was, I thought I was cool. I thought I was badass. Snapchat had just come out like a few years before then, so I was always on Snapchat sending my buddy stuff. So me being hammered drunk, thought let's go as fast as I can on the highway because I would take the highway home. So I had like a big straightaway. So on the big straightaway highway, I take my phone out. I go to take a Snapchat, and I don't remember any of this actually happening. By the way, I figured this all out the next day, which I'll explain how. But what happened was I took a Snapchat of my speedometer going 125 miles an hour, maxed out. Okay, max speed. It was like at 125. Boom, I plowed into the back of a moving car, also on the highway. Now, realistically, I'm assuming this car was probably going, not insanely fast. If I had to guess, probably around 60 to 75 miles an hour, roughly, because it was a big highway, okay?
Yeah.
So probably, if he was going 60 to 75, somewhere in that range is what I'm guessing, and I was going 125, okay? Regardless of him moving forward, dude, when I hit that car, my car flipped forward on its top, and as it's also like spinning, and I drifted on the top of my car about, I think they said it was like 40 yards or something like that. Also partially uphill. So I was flying. Okay, so I'm sliding upside down. And all I remember is my because at then, of course, you sober up a little bit. You're like, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
I just remember myself going, God, please don't let me die. 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 That's all I remember. I was like saying it out loud. God, please don't let me die. God, please don't let me die. God, please don't let me die. And I was able to say it like a good few times before I stopped. So that's how I knew I was like sliding, bro, like for a while. I'm like, am I going to fall off like the edge of the highway right now? Like whatever. Yeah. Anyway, finally come to a stop, and I'm just like hanging upside down like, oh no. I just killed someone. I thought I killed someone, right? I thought I killed someone. I thought I like took someone's life, and I'm like, this is like, I'm done. That's it. My life is over, right? And I undo luckily I have my seatbelt on. Undo my seatbelt, crawl out. I look over. There's a fucking car. Like I'm like, oh my God! And I was like hammered, and my first instinct, I panicked, and I started running. Right. And on the highway, on the right side of the highway, it was like a big dirt, kind of like dirt, not like mountain, but like a big hill that like went into the woods and whatever. So I'm like running up this hill, scrambling up this hill. My phone had fallen out of my pocket at that point. And when I realized my phone fell out of my pocket, I was like, fuck it. And I kept going. And then like I started crying, and I'm like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. I'm an idiot. What am I? Right. And so I'm looking for my phone. I can't find my phone. I'm like, this is so fucked, dude. And I'm like, and then I see there's lights in the background, and I'm like, oh my God, the cops are here. I was like, I gotta go back. So I start walking back, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm not fleeing. I'm here. And I just was like, is the other guy okay? And they like wouldn't tell me, and then like they finally said like, yeah, he's okay. And I'm like, I broke down crying because I was like, I just like the relief of knowing that the other guy was okay. I was like, oh my God.
My God, I've been heavy on you. I mean, like it takes those bad situations, like you said, it could have been a blessing or meant to happen.
Bro. And all I have, I cracked a rib, and I did something to my knee. I like really fucked up my knee, not like super bad, but whatever. Yeah. And then also from trying to run, God taught me a lesson from trying to run and climbing through those things. There was some sort of like poison ivy, poison sumac. Dude, my arms from like wrist to shoulder, and then my legs from like thigh to toe were covered in the itchiest pink rash, blotchy rash all over, dude. Like all over my arms and legs for like weeks. It was so itchy that I actually like couldn't sleep. Like I was like laying there like just suffering, dude. Like
always a punishment, isn't it? And in the smallest way, that God kind of lays those stones.
Bro, it was one of the worst situations. I was like so depressed, Lost my license. Only 2 months they took my license, which is baffling. I don't know how I only lost my license. They should have taken that shit for like 2 years, but lost my license for 2 months, had to go to like the classes and all that. And me being such a degenerate, after the first week of the class, I would go to the class and then go out for dinner and drinks afterwards, like an asshole. I was just a mess, bro. Yeah. So I still didn't fully learn my lesson, but it was a big lesson to I wasn't like drinking and driving after that. That at least got me to stop drinking and driving. Anyway, that was a very long-winded story, but that was one of the most pivotal moments in my life where that's
important. We all have our
pivotal. Died.
Yeah, exactly. You nearly died. You could have took someone's life, and that could have been a big burden for the rest of your life.
Oh my God, dude. I can't even imagine.
Did it take a bad situation like that in order for you to change and put you on the path that you are now? And here's a really controversial question, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'll throw it your way because I've lived in Canada. Do you feel it was a factor of culture that is America, that a lot of young people are out partying, drinking and drugs and everything, that you were around that facilitated that more? Or do you feel that was just the path that you were on?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm living in Pennsylvania. What the hell is there to do in Pennsylvania? You know what I mean? If I was living in Florida or California and I grew up with a bunch of kids who like to go surfing and stuff like that, I don't know, it might have been different. But then again, you got people doing that shit too, and they're still drinking. And so I think it's all situational, man. I mean, look, there's always going to be shit like that no matter where you go. It really just depends on you as a person and what you decide. And I was just a very weak-minded person back then, man. I had a lot of traumas from my childhood. I had a lot of stuff, that I never resolved myself. I had a lot of pain and suffering internally that got brought out and created very bad situations that caused pain and suffering externally. So I was just a victim my whole life, man. I grew up with that victim mentality. My mom had the victim mentality, which rubbed off on me, because she had tons of bad shit happen to her when she was a kid and throughout her teen years and whatever. So that kind of, went into me as a child. And I watched my mom suffer growing up, and I watched her go through the divorce and go through breakups with boyfriends and suffer and cry. And so I was just always seeing that. And then my dad and my stepmom were always fighting when I was younger. And so, man, I was just brought up around suffering and pain and sadness. And so, it rubbed off on me, man. But
that's from our parents. That's our model of relationships as men. We go into our relationships and say, well, that's what we know. The screaming thing's fine and it's normalized when it's like you say, it's not. So it's good that, now you're a father and obviously you've had that past, obviously you feel probably quite protective to not bring that around your kids and create a safe, peaceful environment, in your home base.
You know what, bro? I do my best, but I'm not perfect, man. I still mess up sometimes. And it's like a lot of the stuff that I've gone through in my life is very, very deeply engraved in me. And I'm just saying this to be very transparent. I am not perfect by any means, dude.
No,
I still mess up, and me now compared to almost 3 years ago when my firstborn arrived, the amount of progress I've made is insane. I'm like a whole different person than I was 3 years ago. But I still have my moments where I slip up and I'll get frustrated or whatever. But I see how valuable it is to not do that, to not yell, to not curse, to not get super angry, to to not fight with my wife and stuff like that. And even me and her too. We went through hell together for the first couple of years of our relationship, and we've grown tremendously as a married couple in that time. So there's just so much, bro, that there's so much baggage that I held on to from my past. And a lot of stuff that I, guilted myself about for a very long time. I got baptized too back in August. And I grew up in the church. I grew up in church starting at the age of 4. My mom got baptized and went to church. And then, I think throughout my childhood, I got baptized at some point, but I didn't really take it seriously. I was always following Christ through my mom rather than following Christ through Christ. So then in my late 20s, I kind of denounced my faith and stopped believing and felt separated, and then found my way back through my own connection with God. And then, reformed that and got baptized last year. And now I'm super gung-ho with Christianity. And that's been a huge factor, I think, of my success too over the last what's it been, about 8 months. So the last 8 months have been crazy. The amount of progress I've made, the amount my income's leveled up ever since I got baptized in August, or I guess that would be about 9 months now.
Well, I'm a big believer in that. Like whatever energy and karma you put out into the world, you get back. But that's a perfect segue from your story. Like that's a great intro in sense of like, you know, it's actually what's the word I'm looking for? It's inspirational to young men that might have had a troubled background and could be successful as you are now. So
yeah, I like to talk about it so people know, dude. Yeah. I think a lot of people see me on TikTok with 3 million followers and you know, the verified mark and the views and all that, and they're like, oh, this guy's, you know, he came from Silver Spoon, and it's like, dude, no. Like exactly the opposite, bro. Like I never grew up with money. You know, I wasn't like dead broke. Like people grew up in way worse situations than me, but I wasn't rich by any means. And my parents were certainly not rich by any means, you know, or even close to it. So yeah, that's why I like to talk about this stuff. And then too, like even like into my 20s, I finally stopped working at restaurants when I was like 22 and got a job at the gym. Cause like I told you, I started after I shaved my head at 21, I started taking the gym seriously. So I was at the gym like twice a day to the point where I just went up to the front desk and I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? I'm here all the time. I'm just going to get a job here. Cause I didn't have a job for a few months. And then I started working at the gym at LA Fitness, and I worked for LA Fitness for like 4 years. And that place also was a huge factor into molding me into who I am today. Because at LA Fitness, I learned like better confidence in speaking, like public speaking, and going up to people and talking to them at the gym and like, you know, running them through workouts. And I was the personal training sales director. So I would like sell the personal training program. So I had to like go up to people on the floor and like talk to them and start conversations, and I had to run people through like personal training assessments and do the sales pitch. So I learned like speaking, communications, I learned sales, I learned management and how to hire and fire and train. And I learned customer service and how to like take care of issues and put problems down. So like I hated that job so much, but it was like one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Exactly. There's such an, because Patrick Davis, and you bring all these guys in that did this and talk about jobs. That job was pivotal for you. Job can be like, you know, fitness and gym. A lot of men go to sort themselves out, especially yourself, especially me. I can't live without it. Sorts our mind out, sets our priorities out. But from one job, like I was in sales for like 10 years, which I hated, same as you. But like you say, skills, management, sales, marketing, put you out there. Some jobs can be pivotal in changing you. So jobs are important, you know, when you're young. You're not going to wake up and be a crypto king or a TikTok millionaire, you know, one day. You got to go through those jobs and those lessons. So yeah, great. So with that, you know, fitness kind of really brought you out of it. Finding God really kind of gave you a direction. And we're talking about obviously a bit later in life, which means that, you know, yourself included and me, like we went through our 20s, a lot of I'm talking about myself, but a lot of confusion. I moved around a lot. I was a professional musician, but I lost my voice. So I was like, how am I going to make money? I'm going to go to business. And I thought moving around country was like a heroin fix. I was like, if I moved to Canada, my problems will be sorted. If I moved to Europe, my problems will be sorted. And then Australia. And I was like, right, it's not the place. You have to figure out what problems you have anywhere and build that life. So you've done the gym. LA Fitness has been pivotal. You found your kind of calling through confidence in fitness. Where does Bali come into it? What age did you move to Bali?
Yeah, so I started working for LA Fitness when I was 22, which would have been 2015 was my first year there. It was right before my 23rd birthday, actually. So I was pretty much like 23. It's like I started like 2 weeks before my 23rd. So 23 years old, I started working at the gym, 2015. And I worked my way up, got the promotions, became the director, whatever, learned a bunch of stuff there, stuck that out for like 3 years. I quit, took a sales job, a classic sales cubicle phone sales job, selling magazines to real estate agents, and thought that would be better. And it was even worse because I like, at least at the gym I could like get up and walk around, and I was the manager, so I had freedom. The cubicle was like, we couldn't even like have our phones out. Like we had to like request a bathroom break. It was like crazy. So I was like, okay, this is like the worst. Like no fucking way. I stuck that out for 6 months, but I was talking to all these real estate agents, and I wasn't actually that good at phone sales because I couldn't get myself to be like phony and fake and like all salesy, because that's just not who I was. I was better at in-person. I've always been an in-person personable guy, which is why I was really good at selling personal trading sales in person. On the phone, I was like, I just hated it. I didn't care. So my enthusiasm wasn't there. But a lot of these real estate agents would like hear my voice, and I had many of them all be like, why don't you get into real estate? They're like, you sound like a confident guy. You should be doing like, more than just like selling these magazines. So it started getting me thinking, and I was like, okay, you know what? Like maybe I need to be a real estate agent. So I started taking classes to become a real estate agent. And after like 6 months, I was like, fuck this job. I'm going to go back to the gym and work at LA Fitness again, because I know they'll hire me right back. And it gave me more freedom to then sit there and like study real estate during downtime when I wasn't like in appointments or whatever, because I could do whatever I want. And so I went back to the gym after 6 months of that place, worked at LA Fitness with a plan this time of like, okay, I'm just using this job as like to make a little bit of money while I'm studying for real estate. And then I'm going to quit. I'm going to join a real estate team, which sure enough, I did that. Actually, funny story. I got myself fired because I had quit before and gone back. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna like get myself fired so I can never go back. I literally burned the bridges. And I called a member for a fitness assessment, and I was like planning to like figure out like how to get myself fired. And the one day I called a member to schedule his appointment that he like canceled. And when he's like, hello, and I was like, hey, like whatever his name was, like, hey Neil, whatever, like, how you doing, man? It's Pauly from LA Fitness. And he hung up, and I was like, oh, you know what? I was like, this is it, man. This is the time. Called him back and left a voice message like cursing him out, just like on purpose of like, okay, like fuck it, dude, I'm doing it now. And sure enough, like I came into work the next day, and everyone's like, dude, what did you do? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all good, And then like I went through that whole day, and then went home, and then the next morning as I'm driving in, my boss called me. He's like, yeah, man, don't come in. He's like, that went to HR. We gotta let you go. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, and I had actually accepted the new job already. Like this was like a Friday, and I accepted the new job with the real estate team to start on Monday. So I was like, yeah, you're good, man. I was actually getting ready to quit anyway. I got my new job on Monday. So, and that was it. And that was the last I ever worked at LA Fitness. And that was 2019. And so here comes Bali. So basically 2019 was like without a doubt the most pivotal year of my whole entire life. So I got myself fired from LA Fitness, started with the real estate team. That was April 1st of 2019. April 1st. That was when I dropped out of college too. That seems to be a very big date for me. So April 1st, 2019, I started with the real estate team I didn't have my license yet because I was still like taking the test and studying and whatever. And so I failed the test a couple times before I passed it. Whatever, it's like a sales call, not sales call, but like I booked the appointments. I scheduled the appointments for the sales agent. So anyway, and I had like a fixed income. So I was doing that. I was just sitting there making phone calls all day. Right. So I'm in the office. I'm making phone calls. It's like an automatic dialer. So I'm sitting there like on my phone looking at shit. And I'm like, what's my next move? Because within like the first 30 days, I was like, this sucks. I was like, okay, wait, I don't think I want to be a real estate agent. And I even passed my test. After the first, I was with them. I signed like a 3-month contract with this team. After the first 2 months, because it was like April, it was like in June, I passed the test, and then like 3 weeks later, I quit. And even it was because the manager sat me down, or the team owner, like the lady that like ran the team, her team, she sat me down. She's like, "Hey, you don't want to be here, do you?" And I was like, "No, I don't. Like, not at all." And she's like, "You finally just passed your test too. Like," she's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, honestly, but not real estate." So
as well, real estate's a long game.
Yeah. I just felt like I think being a real estate agent is like, I don't know, dude. It still just feels like a traditional job. Like you know what I mean? You're dressing up in the corporate outfits, and you're doing the appointment. You're like you're still like an employee at that point. And that's what I was, because back then I was like, oh, real estate agent, like I can make my own schedule, but not really, dude. Like you're still an employee at that point, Yeah. And so got out of there after July 1st, 3 months. So now it's July 2019. I'm like, okay, it's been a long 4 years. I need to like go do something, because I didn't take like any vacations or like anything for like 4 years. I didn't do anything with my life but just like work at the gym and work. So my mom always like goes and sees all the family every summer. She like does a big road trip. I'm like, Mom, I'm coming with you on the road trip this year. Like I'm going. So my mom and I just like hopped in the car in July, and we like drove around the States and saw like all of the family, like in Connecticut and Vermont and Massachusetts and the New England states. And spent like a few weeks doing that. Got home, and during that time, I had been on Instagram while I was with the real estate team. When I was with them, I was on Instagram because I told you I was on that automatic phone dialer. So I'm just sitting there scrolling on my phone when I'm in that office. And I'm looking at Instagram, and I'm seeing all these dudes posting cool pictures of themselves, okay? And they're in, and they have the locations tagged, right? So it's like Scottsdale, New York, Miami, and Vegas, and they're doing all the shit, and they're driving the cars. And so back then, this is 2019. I don't know anything about like entrepreneurship. I don't know anything about social media. I know nothing. I'm like a little, small town kid with a tiny fucking turtle brain mindset. And I'm like, what are these kids? What are these like 21-year-old? I'm like 27 by now, right? 2019, I'm 27. So I'm like, what are these little like 21-year-old dipshits doing, like traveling all the time, and like they're just like posting cool pictures of themselves, like candid shots of them like drinking a coffee in the middle of Times Square. And so I'm like, all right, hold on, man, I got to look into this. So I just start following people and messaging people. And like, that was how I got started. I'm like, I just started networking. I'm like, yo, I'm like, hey man, I came across your profile, super inspirational. I hate my life and I want to level up. I'm like, what do you do? And I just started like asking people what they do. Yeah. So I came into contact with a couple dudes, one of which I paid like $1,500 for like an e-com mentorship. And then the other, I paid like $500 for an Instagram mentorship. The one with e-com offered to fly me out to Arizona to meet him and his team. He was actually friends with the guy who I paid the $500 to for the Instagram mentorship. And they worked in the same office building that both their teams like rented out space in. So I'm like, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to go out and do the e-com mentorship, meet this guy, meet his team, hang out with all his boys, network, and see other kids doing what I'm trying to do. And then I can go next door and see this guy and meet him and meet his team. So this kid flies. I get back from the travels with my mom. This kid flies me out to Arizona. He's 21 years old. I'm thinking he's all successful. This kid's a fucking disaster. Like I like slept on his couch with like 3 other of his like students, and we're all like piled in his living room. It was the weirdest scenario, man. And I'm like on this kid's couch with like a little tiny like Toy Story blanket or something like that. It was like crazy. Other kids on the couch, the one, and the other kids on the third part of the couch, other kids on like a big bean bag. And there was like 4 of us like living out of a suitcase in this guy's living room. This guy's like a mess. He like punched his door and it was broken. His dog's pooping all over the place, but he's just like, hey man, he's like, welcome to my crib, y'all. Like, it was the craziest scenario. And I just went for it. And it got me there. And I met one of the kids who was also doing this with both the same guys. He paid the same guy for the e-com store and the same guy for the mentorship. And so he was in this office, and his name was Colin. And he is now like my brother. He's like one of we actually just had a phone call last night to catch up. He's one of my best friends ever now. And that was like a very big moment of alignment to get us together, because he is the reason that I got to Bali. And if I didn't meet Colin, I don't know where my life would be right now. So and he was from Jersey and I was from Philly. So we were from the same area. So we kind of just like hit it off and we start talking. And then we kind of like linked up, and then we were always together, and we were always driving everywhere. We were always working everywhere together. We were always like meeting up for workouts in the morning, going to each other's houses, whatever. And we just became boys. And after like the first month, so anyway, my bad. I'm skipping steps here. So I spent 2 weeks at this kid's house. Then I fly home back to Philly to my parents' house. So I'm living with my parents at this time. And it was like, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to move to Scottsdale. This is Scottsdale, Arizona. I think I'm going to move to Scottsdale. I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to like really, really go for this, right? Go for this life. And I was like, let me like figure out some stuff to do. And like, maybe I'll get there like at the start of next year. I'll go in January. Cause it was July. So I'm like, okay, maybe like I need to figure out some stuff. So like when I get home, the one Instagram guy who I paid the $500 to, he's like, hey man, when are you going to move out? And I was like, yeah, probably like December, January. He's like, why? He's like, what are you waiting for? And I just didn't know what to say. And I was like, okay, you know what? You're right. That night, I stayed up till 2 a.m, getting everything ready, booked an Airbnb, planned my trip, everything. That was Tuesday. set it for Saturday. That Saturday, I packed my car with all my stuff and I set out for my new life. And this was August 19th of 2019.
April 1st.
2019. That was the big day, bro. I packed my car. There's an Instagram post. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see me. I'm standing next to my old Nissan Altima. I had a Nissan Altima. And I'm like this.
Hey,
outside my parents' house, outside in the driveway. And bro, I drove cross country from Pennsylvania to Scottsdale, Arizona, starting from August 19th, and I got there on the 21st. It took me like 3 days, like 3 full days of driving, the morning of the 19th to the evening of the 21st. 3 full days of traveling, staying in hotels, staying at friends' places on the way, whatever, visiting little stops, getting food, seeing some cool monuments. But I drove there, man, in 3 days with my cars packed. I had $300 in my bank account total, and I had like 2 credit cards to live off of, with like one had like 0% interest for like a year or whatever, and the other had like cash back, or I don't know. I was like totally winging it, man. Like I had no real plan other than just, I fully believe that I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to put my back against the wall. I'm going to jump out of the plane and build a parachute on the way down. Nice. And I got there and I started learning affiliate marketing, and I started selling services and digital services and stuff like that, and making commissions. And within a month, my buddy Colin and I realized that these guys weren't really the best people. And so we bounced and we started doing our own thing. And for the next few months, we started building up our personal brands, and we made some online courses and stuff like that on like how to, make some money online like we did. Yeah. And then, bro, we booked a trip to Bali in December, and we left Arizona, went home to the East Coast to see our families for the holidays, and met back up a month later and went to the airport in the first week of January of 2020 and flew to Bali. And that was like, because we were just like, what should we do? We should go travel. Let's go travel. Let's go somewhere. Yeah. And we were actually
making good money at this point.
No, I mean, I was making enough to survive, but I wasn't making like crazy money. No,
but let's touch on the super interesting facts that I picked apart from that I love, because obviously I started a marketing agency and I did the same thing, doing the same thing. But you did this in 2018-19 when it was like Instagram, drop shipping, crypto was all coming out, and I think you rode that wave, it's a perfect timing, and you did it old school, like go in person, network. And I think a lot of us guys, like I thought I was a lone wolf as well, but until I met my business partner 2 years ago, I was like, bro, I would not be where I am now without him, similar to like you're saying. But that's an amazing story from 2019, because like that's when it was happening, man. And you took that chance, you took that risk, and it completely paid off. Because now, like everyone's trying to do the same thing in 2025, and obviously your DMs are probably full with a million guys like, hey bro, like trying to do the same thing for you, and you haven't got time. But in 2019, no one's DMs were full. Like that's
man. I was sending out cold DMs because I had that sales nature and confidence from working at LA Fitness for so long. Mm-hmm. So I was fearless. I didn't fear the DMs. I didn't fear the cold outreach, because it's what I did for a living for so long.
People hear that. They do. They go like, I'm going to put myself out there and get a DM and get rejected, or I'm going to talk to a girl, or I'm going to do a cold call, and people shake, because I teach people to do the same thing, and they shake and they're like, and I'm like, bro, you can just literally press the phone and the call will stop. Like, don't worry about it.
And that is like, once again, I wasn't making crazy money, but I was making enough, dude, to survive. And that was all I wanted to do at first. I was just like, dude, I need to figure out a way to make money, pay my bills, and just not have to work a job ever again. Because
so that was good. You guys arrived to Bali, so you've done that. You've rode this like perfect timing wave with the social media game, making money online when it was large. So you get to Bali, and then what?
It was January 2020. So we came as tourists, which when you get to Bali as a tourist, they'll give you a 30-day visa, and they give it to you on arrival. So you get the 30-day visa on arrival, and after 30 days, you have to leave, or you'll start getting fined and whatever. So what people do with the 30-day visa, if they want to stay longer, they'll fly out and then they'll fly back in, sometimes the same day, or you come back the next day or whatever. So for me, I this was the first time I had ever traveled overseas ever in my whole entire life. I'm 27 years old, almost 28 at this point, and I had never made it overseas. So when I got to Bali, I was like blown away. I'm like, this is insane. This is an insane life. I come from freaking East Pennsylvania, dude. Like I mean, like I got to Bali and I'm like, this place exists. Like this is like real life right now. I was in actual culture shock, dude. I was just like, this is absolutely tanking my perspective right now in the craziest way. I just couldn't believe that this was even a real thing. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how, like, and I'm not exaggerating when I speak like this. Like I was genuinely in shock. Like when I got here, I was like, what the actual F?
No, traveling changes your life. And Bali was a very different place in 2019 than it is now. So you're probably at peak best time to be there.
I mean, regardless, it was just the state of being out here is so different, you know, where there's no like corporate type shit. You know what I mean? There's no like hustle and bustle type stuff. In a sense of like there are people that are driving to work every day, which is mostly locals, but you don't feel that like American get on the highway, commute to work type energy. You don't feel that out here. It's very laid back because in Bali there's just restaurants and cafes everywhere and gyms and shopping and whatever. So people are just constantly walking around and enjoying life and they're on their own time. And so when I got here and there's just like an abundance of like cool places to go, I was like, dude, this is epic. I love it. And I just fell in love with Bali like immediately. So we booked this month trip. The month comes to an end. It's February. And Colin, my buddy, is like, he's like, I'm going back. I'm going back to the States. I'm building my business. I want to keep networking, do my thing. I was like, dude, I'm not leaving. I'm staying. So we said our goodbyes and he went back to the States. And this was like the first time that we had like pretty much like split apart. Like we were just attached to the hip, man, for like 4 months straight, besides when we went home to see our families, of course. Right. But yeah, for like from like August until January, basically, or until February, we were together like almost every day. So we like, you know, we were like, all right, bro, catch up later and good luck and we'll see you. And of course we always stay to touch. Like I said, it's like, he's like my best friend. But now I'm on my own for like the first time in a while. Right. And so I flew to Singapore and I went to check out Singapore and I was there for a few days, came back, got another 30-day visa. So now I'm like, okay, I like this. I'm gonna do 30 days in Bali. Every 30 days, I'm gonna use that as an excuse because I have to renew my visa. I'm gonna use that as an excuse to go travel and I'll just start exploring Southeast Asia. This is perfect, great, awesome, cool. So my next trip I book is the Philippines. And that was for March 2020. Do you remember what happened in March 2020?
Dude,
pretty big event there for the old Earth, huh? So March 2020, my 30 days is up. I've got this whole like 4-day itinerary planned for Palawan Island, Philippines, which is the capital of that. The capital city is Puerto Princesa, which is where the airport is. And then you got El Coron, you got or no, it's not. It's got Coron and El Nido and all these like popular places that people go in the Philippines on that island. So I was gonna rent a car and drive like from place to place, whatever. So I fly into Puerto Princesa. I go to my hotel. I got dinner somewhere. It was kind of late. I was like a night flight. So got dinner, went to my hotel, went to bed, got up early the next morning. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. This is gonna be an awesome 4-day trip. I go downstairs. I'm like, hey, you guys have car rentals? Can I rent a car today? And they're looking at me like, they're like, what? And I'm like, do you not like understand English or what? And she's like, you know what happened now? And I'm like, what? And she grabs this paper and like holds it in my face. And it's like, mandatory lockdown starting March 15th. All regulations are on. And I'm like, what? Like, so you're telling me I'm screwed? And so I like jumped on my laptop and I started looking at flights. And I'm trying to find a flight back to Bali, And it was literally like this. It would say available. I would go to hit book and then it'd be like, this flight is no longer available. So they're getting like booked up as I'm like searching and I couldn't get one. It was every single time it was like booked. So I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to the airport. Got a taxi to the airport. I show up. The line in the airport is like all the way outside, like all wrapped around the building. And I'm like, oh no. So I'm in line at the airport and I'm standing there and there's these two dudes from Germany. They're brothers. And they're like a couple people in front of me and I overhear them talking. I hear them say like Canggu, Bali. And so I'm like, yo, you guys going back to Bali too? And they're like, blah, blah. So we ended up talking and they're cool. They're like around my age. And so
So we kind of end up like, we buddied up there and we made it like into the airport. And then we were just sitting on the floor of the airport for like 3 hours. The line's not moving. And at some point we looked at each other. We're like, yeah, this is not happening today. So they're like, all right, let's all like pitch in. We'll get a hotel room like together. And we got like a big like 2-bed hotel room. And we're like, all right, let's all make sure we're up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll go to the airport at like 3 o'clock. Okay. So we like go and we go have dinner, we get some sleep. We all wake each other up at like 3 in the morning. We head to the airport. The line is even longer than it was the day before. We're like, oh my God, we're screwed. So we accepted our fate and we went up to a little village called Port Barton. It's a little backpacker village. And we're like, all right, we're camping out. Let's wait for this to all be over, not knowing, of course, what was about to happen with the entire year, basically, right? And the first like 2 or 3 days were super chill. Backpacker village. I'm staying in some like grungy guest house, like, just living out of I had like a duffel bag with like 4 days of clothes, right? My suitcase, all my stuff was still in Bali at a friend's villa. I'm thinking I'm coming back in 4 days. We get locked down. We're chilling. On the third day, they said, hey, you guys can't leave the guest house. The entire like a whole group of army troops came to this village, and there's a big gate at the front of the village to get out. And this village is at the top of like a very steep downward drive. It's like 7 hour downhill swervy drive back down to the city. So we're at the peak of this mountain in this backpacker village, and bro, they blocked the village and then they blocked us in, and we couldn't even leave the guest house for like a good, I don't know, probably 5-6 days. We were just locked in this house, which felt like forever. And it was me by myself, and there was a Spanish family there. It was like full family, like grandma, grandpa, a couple sons and one daughter, and then one of them had a kid and the cousins. And so there's probably like, I don't know, 10, 12, something like that of them. And then there was like probably like 4 or 5 Filipino workers. And then me, this big, huge, tall, bald American guy. And it was just funny, man. We all just became like a little family for like a week. And there's nothing to do. We just ate, drank, sat, talked, watched movies, and did nothing. And then one day, the grandma, I don't even know like how she did this still to this day. I don't know. But she like was texting and she's like, yeah, they're sending us a rescue bus. And I'm like, what? Like, is this like, are you like part of the mafia or something? Like it was the weirdest thing, man. And she's like, yeah, she's like, they're going to be sending the whole village a rescue bus at 4 a.m. on Tuesday. We all have to be ready. I was like, okay, whatever. Like at this point, like I'm just doing whatever, And bro, sure enough, we all got up. We at like 3:30 or something like that in the morning after like a week of being stuck here. And we like walked, it's like pitch black outside. We're like walking through this village, and I guess the troops were all like sleeping. And there was a massive bus to pick up like 50 of us tourists scattered throughout the village. And it got us, we all got on, and it just started up and left the village. And here we are, we're driving down this big mountain at, 3 o'clock in the morning. We get down there, but finally it's like, 9, 10 a.m. And they got us on a flight to Manila, and then we got out of there and we got to Manila. So that was like absolutely wild. I mean, there were troops walking the village with like AK-47s, like not
crazy. Were you locked in Manila for a year? Did you get back to Bali for the?
No. So we were in Port Barton, the little village, for like a week or so, maybe like 10 days. I forget how long. We got that rescue bus down to Puerto Princesa. We got on a flight. We flew to Manila, and then technically, I could have left Manila right then and there and gone back to the States, but I still have my suitcase of stuff in Bali, and I'm like, I'm thinking like I'm gonna go back to Bali.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll park up in Manila for a little bit. We could still go out. It's still like not too crazy here, and I'll just chill. So I'm trying to book an Airbnb. I'm trying to find hotels. There was like nothing available. Like they wouldn't let me in as a tourist, whatever. So one hotel I could find was the Oyo Airport Hotel. And it was like this little rinky-dink hotel right next to the airport, which is like in Pasay City, Manila, which is like it's like the hood, bro. It's like the ghetto. So I was like living in the ghetto for like almost like 4 weeks. I was there, 4 weeks, something like that. And I think 3 weeks I was there. So I stayed in this hotel for 3 weeks. I did like nothing because there was nothing to do. Like nothing was open. So every day I would get up and I would like take a big long walk to like this little chicken place called Andoc's Chicken. And I would get a big bag of meat and rice. And then I'd walk to 7-Eleven and get waters and instant noodles and then walk back. And that was like my daily circle walk. And then I would just sit there and like eat chicken and like watch TV and work on my phone. Like, and when like I was doing like these hotel room workouts, I have like a TikTok of me back then. I'm like pushing the bed up, and because the bed was made of like really like light wood. It was just funny, man. It was a funny situation. And so I finally got out of there after like 3 weeks, because while I was there, I'm talking to a visa agency in Bali. And I had paid them to process me what's called a social visa or a business visa, which lasts 6 months instead of 30 days. And apparently right then and there, it was the only way to get back in. So I paid them and they're trying to get a process. 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by, nothing. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm so sorry, the embassy is shutting down. We weren't able to process it for you. And then like literally like the next day, Bali made its like announcement on, you know, like the internet, Instagram, whatever. They're like, our doors are internationally closed. No one's allowed in, nothing until further notice. So I basically waited in Manila for like 3 weeks for nothing. And then when I found that out, I'm like, all right, this is it. I'm done. So I booked a trip to Hawaii because I had some friends there. And I did a 63-hour travel to get to Hawaii. I went from Manila to South Korea, which was like a 5-hour flight. I had a 9-hour layover there, passed out in the gate, almost missed my flight, woke up and looked over as the last person was walking through and ran over, got on the plane, had a I don't know, 12, 15, something like that, hour flight to LA. So just flew right over Hawaii because they couldn't do a direct flight. Got to LA, had a 24-hour layover in LA, slept at like 5 p.m. because I was like a zombie. Got up the next morning thinking my flight was going to be at 9 a.m. Got to the airport at 7. They're like, hey, your flight's been canceled and rerouted to Seattle now. And it's 3 hours later. So I sat in the airport for like 5 hours, got on that flight, went to Seattle, had a 3-hour layover there, and then went from Seattle to Hawaii. So I basically did like a figure 8, right? Manila to Seoul to LA to Seattle, and then got to Honolulu. And when I got to Honolulu, I was back. I was in the States. I kicked it there for a couple months. 2020 was also a really big year of growth and failure. I went through a lot of like personal shit. And it was actually probably the most depressing time of my life towards the end, man. I went through like a really, really deep, dark time for some personal stuff. This is still my first full year of like entrepreneurship, if you want to call it. More like intrapreneurship, because I didn't really have like a real business. I was just doing like affiliate marketing stuff, but I tried to build something. It failed. I crashed and burned. I went back home to see my family finally in October of 2020 after traveling the States. It was like Hawaii, and then I went to LA, and then I went to Vegas, and then I went back to Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple months, and then I finally went home and stayed with them for a couple months.
I was surprised you were able to move about so much, or in America during COVID, because I got locked in Vancouver and we couldn't even leave the border.
Yeah, no, 2020, I was acting like nothing was happening. I was still traveling around and going places and doing stuff, and I was living off credit card debt. I was like racking up credit card debt and opening more cards and getting sign-up bonuses and doing whatever I could to stay afloat. And then I just crashed and burned mentally, man, and went to this deep, dark depression in like November of 2020. And that took me like a solid month to really like get out of. And then, so basically November, this is when the stars aligned again perfectly to get me back to where I now have my beautiful life and family, was that in November, this was now 8 months of Bali being closed. And I was like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm not waiting any longer, right? Because my stuff is still there. I still have a suitcase of all my belongings and clothes in Bali for 8 months now. Yeah. And I'm thinking I'm going to go back, but it's not open yet. So I book a trip to LA. I'm like, you know what? I'm moving to LA. I'm starting a new life. Here we go. And my goal was, I booked a 1-week trip. I set up all these appointments for apartments and for apartment tours. And I'm like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to look at apartments. I'm going to sign one and I'm going to move there. And that's it. And so I booked a week trip. The third day I was there, I get a call from my friend here in Bali, the one who my suitcase was at. And they're like, dude, Bali's back open. And I'm like, no way. And I'm like, what are the odds that I wait 8 months? And then the very week that I was in LA with the plan, with like the do or die plan of like, I am signing a lease before I leave here. Like that was like, I made myself that promise. I'm like, I'm going to tour these places and I'm going to pick one and I'm going to sign it. I'm going to go home to Philly, get my shit and move out here in like the first week of December, whatever. Right. Get that phone call. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that is God speaking to me right now. That's God speaking to me. There's no way, because like, how would I 8 months and then the week I'm in LA getting ready to start my new life, I get that phone call? There's no way. So I'm like, I got to go to Bali. Immediately, I'm like, I got to go to Bali. I don't know why, but I got to go to Bali. This is it. And so I just stopped the tours at that point, and I just enjoyed the rest of my week in LA. I did some exploring, whatever, and I went home. Still super depressed, not knowing what was going on in my life at that point. Chilled with my parents for like the rest of November. And then the first week of December, or second week, or whatever it was, of 2020, I flew back out to Bali. Bro, I met the girl who is now my wife and the mother of my 3 wonderful sons, literally the second week I went back to Bali. And if I had not gotten that phone call, at that time, I probably would have signed a lease, moved to LA, and I would never have the life that I have now. I would not have my wonderful wife, my soulmate. I would not have my children, and I don't know what the hell I would be doing. And that is how I ended up here as Pauly Long, the Bali guy, the TikTok guy, the testicle king, whatever the hell you know me as.
Well, there you go. As the Kung Fu Panda says, there are no coincidences, eh? There is no bad luck. So, hey, look, what a hell of a story. That's great to hear from start to finish of what you went through. There wasn't always successes. Most successful people have 2 or 3 businesses that do fail before they find their successful one. We're going through COVID, like the same with us. We had no direction. Ryan Serhan, the huge real estate guy in New York, started Serhan, I think, Enterprises, he said, in 2020, and COVID hit. And he's same as you. He was like, I am not giving up. This is my dream. I'm going full on. He built that company during COVID. So COVID has been a very integral part of our lives as well. Yeah. So full script, what an intro to the next segue. So the family man of God, Testi King, sushi guy, raw salmon dude.
What a weird bio, right? I don't know.
We got 3 million followers on TikTok. We got 863,000 on Instagram. Now, from any perspective, those are amazing numbers and a dream to have. So let's start on how you built those pages, which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they're your pages. We've got a bit of fitness and health in there, and we have the raw eating. So talk me where the raw eating came from and the raw meat. And that's basically what pushed your profile so high, eh?
Yeah. So it's an interesting story of how that all came up. And I know I just gave you like the craziest long-winded story of that previous question. So I'll try to keep this one a little shorter. But bro, all in all, it's funny, man. And I have no problem like exposing myself. My Instagram was built on all the wrong ways. In 2019, when I went to that Scottsdale office to meet those guys, the Instagram guy and his team. So what they were doing was putting themselves and their clients and their students, aka me and the other kids, into these things called celebrity giveaways, where the celebrity gives away a certain amount of cash and tells everyone, hey, go follow this page to win.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And whatever. And so like you would pay for a spot as like a sponsor, they would call it, and you would get followed by either the celebrity, if it was a direct follow, or the giveaway page get followed by. And then everyone clicks on that giveaway page, and it's only following, 50 people, 75 people, 100 people, whatever, and you just follow. So they told me and all these other kids, they're like, okay, look, Instagram's broken. There's no way to grow. You have to do this or else you're going to fail. And it was like, I drove out there to start my new life. I put my back against the wall. And when they told me this, I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. Like, that sounds not like the way to go. And they were like, well, okay, bro. Like they were cocky dudes. So they were, they kind of like manipulated us. They were like, because I was brand new to this game, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I was 27 years old, but I was still like clueless. I mean, my family, no one in my family ever did anything like this. None of my friends ever did anything like this. Like, I was just a very small town, small mindset type person. So when I got here, I was kind of just like open to anything, and I was doing what people told me I should do because I was like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So here I am with my back against the wall. I got to figure shit out because I'm not going back home. So they're like, you got to get in these celebrity giveaways, and that's going to get you all these followers, and then people are going to take you more seriously when you have more followers. So I'm like, okay. So I entered this giveaway, the first one, and it was like, and I thought they told me it was going to be like, real and this and that. They put me in some like Brazilian girl like giveaway, and I started getting all these like 13-year-old Brazilian girls and like Brazilian women like following, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, this is not at all like what you said it was gonna be. And they're like, oh yeah, like sometimes they're Brazilian and like blah, blah, blah. Like just total like, I'm not gonna say any names, but these dudes like were not good dudes, and still to this day are not good dudes. And then which is why I obviously told you me and Colin left after like a month. But yeah, Colin did this, and all the other kids in this office, man, like we all did it because that's just like they manipulated us into thinking it was the only way. Instagram's dead, it's never coming back. And of course Instagram like adopted the TikTok algorithm years later, and now it's like a wonderful platform to grow on organically. Back then though, it was shit back then, I'm not gonna lie, but still I wish I wouldn't have done it, because it's like, you know what I mean, like you could have done it other ways. But so Instagram, bro, that was how I also started making money. Is I started selling those giveaways then, because they're like, yeah, you could sell these giveaways, and so I started being transparent about it. I was telling people, I was like, look, like I did this to my account, and it's, I've got like a bunch of Brazilian followers. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be, but if you do want more credibility and this and that, you can do this. So I was at least like, I was telling the truth, whereas like me, I wasn't told the truth when I did it. So at that point, I'm selling those, I'm selling other like affiliate marketing services, and that was how I like gained a whole bunch of followers that like, I don't even know if like half of them were real or not. Because then also too, you would enter these giveaways sometimes, and the people who ran them, if their like influencer wasn't able to deliver as many followers as they promised, they would just like bot your account. So I'm sure my account got botted a whole bunch of times with fake accounts to like cover the minimum. Like if they said like, oh, you're going to gain like 10 to 15,000 followers due to our like metric system that we did the calculations on, blah, blah. Like it was total bullshit, man. So I fell into that, man. And that was like, that really screwed up my Instagram. So I lived on that like kind of facade for a couple of years, which is also why I struggled for a couple of years. Went through a lot of ups and downs, man. And then basically what happened was I opened my TikTok account in 2019, and I went viral in Philippines. And then I also went viral in Indonesia. And I went viral a couple of times in the US market as well. And from like 2019 to 2022, I gained like 200,000 followers. Because back then on TikTok, it was like insane. It was like the Wild Wild West. Like anybody could just like go viral, and anybody could gain followers. So after being, kind of like fucked over on Instagram and just falling into that trap of like thinking the only way I could grow my account is with giveaway followers. When TikTok came along and started like giving me real followers, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But I never took it seriously because I was still so sucked into that Instagram world. So for 3 years, I built up like 200K random followers, but I was still nobody. Like I still like wasn't like, I didn't have any real platform at that point with TikTok, and I wasn't using it for anything. April 18th, I always remember these dates, man. April 18th of 2022, I posted a video of me eating a raw goat testicle on TikTok. And that was just for shits and giggles. And the reason I even had those in the first place, the origin story of this, was that I was trying to do YouTube in 2021. And I had some like friends here in Bali, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you should do like Indonesian food stuff because that always goes like really viral. Like if like a white person does like Indonesian food, the Indonesians love that. They call white people bule, like bule. Yeah. That's like if a bule does Indonesian food, whatever." So I texted the lady, one of the Indonesian ladies that was like one of my nannies back then, and I was like, "Hey, can you get us like some Indonesian food and whatever?" So she like sends me a bunch of popular stuff, and one of them was like goat testicle satay. Like they fillet them and grill them and put the sauce on and whatever. And so then also at that time, Liver King was like popping off at the same time towards the end of 2021, and I'd seen him eat the raw testicle back in like the end of 2021 into 2022, and so this was like the end of 2021. 6 months later, because she wasn't able to get the goat testicles. 6 months later, April 2022, she texted me out of the blue. She's like, "Hey, I found someone that has those goat testicles. Do you still want them?" And I had already like given up on YouTube at that point because I just didn't do it. And I was like, you know what? Like for shits and giggles, why not? Right? Yeah. Like, why not? Okay. And once again, it's so funny how like little things like this made my life, bro. Because if I didn't get that, if she didn't find those testicles, bro, I don't even know. I don't even know like where I would be in life right now. It's to say that is crazy thing to say. Crazy thing to come out of my mouth, bro. If she didn't find those testicles, I don't know where I'd be.
Oh, those the testicles. We love it.
Absurd quote. You should quote that. We got to frame that. But yeah, bro, legitimately, if she didn't find those, I don't know. So she finds them. She brings them over. I make the TikTok. Boom, viral overnight. And as soon as I went viral, I was like, okay, this is something, because the Liver King shit was super popular. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I gotta feed off this right now. And so I went all in on just like the raw meat, the carnivore, whatever. And then I found a meat supplier out here who supplies a bunch of the restaurants with steaks and pork and beef and chicken and whatever, who could get the organs. And so I just started ordering all the freaking testes and hearts and livers and kidneys and brains and whatever else, man. And they're ripping content. And as soon as I made that one viral video overnight, that day, I told myself I'm going to post every day. And I just in my head, I didn't know like anything really still about like actual content creating, because I was so used to the bullshit with Instagram, which was all fake. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm gonna really do this. I'm gonna do this real this time. I'm not gonna do this fake facade crap on Instagram. I hate it. It's all fake. I hate it. I want to be a real content creator. And I went viral, and I committed that day. I was like, I'm gonna post every day. I'm never gonna miss a day, bro. Legitimately, since April 18th, 2022, I've posted every day. That's
because you're like the opposite step, where it's like, because you had that confirmation of this works, and then that's when you went all in. But the 90% of people just think I have to post every day to then get viral. So that's super interesting. So that's good.
Yeah.
Confirmation.
I hit the wild card, man. Yeah. And I hit the wild card. I hit the jackpot, and I just right then and there, I'm like, I'm not letting this go to waste. And what's crazy too is, though, a lot of people do also run into that situation where they will go viral with one video, but they don't follow up on it. Most people that go viral miss life-changing opportunities because they don't believe in themselves and they don't think that they can do it again. And they always think, oh, what can I do next? If this went viral, I have to come up with a whole new idea. And it's like, no, you just feed off of that one thing. And that's what I did. It went unexpectedly viral with a freaking raw testicle video. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. I'm going to start doing raw meats and whatever. And shortly after, since the Liver King was so famous, everyone started calling me the Testicle King as a joke. Yeah. And I just ran with it. I'm like, yep, cool. I'm the Testicle King, And it's like, it just kept going. I just viral.
Let's go into that nutrition part, because obviously you're big on your gym nutrition, and so am I. And I actually write for supplement companies in the US, and I obviously do their like marketing, etc. So I know my shit when it comes to supplements, and I'm a big believer in organ meat. So I have beef liver every day in capsules because it's the best superfood on the planet.
Amazing, bro.
Because of that video, is that what got you into the organ meat, or did you just know about that beforehand?
No, so like I told you, I saw Liver King doing it first, and I saw him for the first time. He went viral for the first time in the end of 2021. He went viral on like every big page, World Star and all those other like big huge Instagram pages. And so I saw that video, and of him eating the raw testicle, the huge, massive bull testicle. And I was like, what the hell is this all about, right? Like, that was so foreign to me back then. Of like eating raw meat like that, raw organs. And
we're like, straight away, we're like, okay, that's going to make us ill, eating raw meat.
Right.
Programmed to think.
So when I saw that, then I also started seeing other carnivore accounts because I followed him, and then of course you see like I saw like Carnivore MD, Paul Saladino, and I saw Carnivore Aurelius. I love him. He's hilarious. And so I started like following all these like pages about that kind of stuff and seeing more of them eat like the raw organs. And so for me, I'm the kind of person where it's like if I see someone doing it, that means that it's possible. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like whereas most people will be like, oh, you're doing that, you're gonna die. And it's like, no, bro, like I already see other people doing it who look like very well educated and very fit and healthy people. So therefore I'm gonna also do it. And so when I did that, I was eating raw eggs and raw liver at that point. Wow. And then at the point that I tried the raw testicle. So I had started doing that for about 3 to 4 months prior to the testicle video. Okay. Like eating the raw eggs and the raw liver, and I was liking it. I was enjoying it because I was feeling really good.
Did you see a massive increase in health and difference from the raw stuff?
Yeah, bro, I was, you know what, man, I was really strong in the gym, dude. Yeah. And I was a lot bigger than I am now. Obviously I've had 3 kids, so like life has kicked my ass, you know.
You've popped them out of your body, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. You know, 3 kids, no sleep. You lose.
Sleep's a big thing.
Like, when I was doing all that shit in 2022, bro, I was like 103 kilograms and like less body fat than I am now. Now I'm like 96 kilograms. You know,
so if anything about sleep gets affected, then say goodbye to testosterone and size.
It's like a 15-pound difference, you know, in my body weight. But I was really strong back then. So yeah, it definitely helps. But yeah, so anyway, I when I started doing it I first started doing it for the videos, right? But I was already eating the raw liver and the raw eggs, which I knew was like very beneficial. Yeah. And then when I started doing the testicles, within like the first couple of weeks, I was like, you know what? Like I noticed a difference. Like I seriously, like I noticed a difference, and I started eating like 4 or 5 of these a week, and I just felt good. I was like, dude, I feel really fucking good right now. So then it just was like a double motivator where I'm like, not only is this stuff making me feel really good and really healthy and keeping me on track with my diet, but it's also building my personal brand. So that's why it was like easy for me to go all in on this, because it just fell in line with everything. Yeah. And I wasn't forcing it. Of course, there were videos where I forced something, like eating raw brain is not very fucking appealing. It's very disgusting.
Soy sauce.
It's so mushy, bro. So of course there were some things that I was doing for content, but the 3 main organs that I live and die by are testicle, heart, liver. And I would eat testicle, heart, and liver genuinely probably 4 to 5 nights a week. I would have.
And disclaimer, you've never got any health problems or ill from doing that.
Bro, it's crazy. I never got sick from raw meat or organs one time. And I've gotten food poisoning several times over the last few years. It's always been from shit in Bali, bro. It's always been like Bali belly from like I'll go out to like some restaurant and I'll get like food poisoning. But during that whole time, I never got sick from any of that stuff. And that's like a very common question. Everyone's always like, oh, you get sick, you get sick. And it's like, no, dude, I've only ever gotten sick from restaurants eating cooked food, or if it's like sushi or whatever. But I never got sick from this stuff. And in fact, it was quite the opposite, where I just felt incredible. And it took some experimenting where like I overdid it at first because I didn't realize how much of a nutrient intake eating that kind of stuff is. Because when you eat raw meat, it's like 100% nutrients. You know what I mean? Because you get all the active enzymes, you get all the peptides, you get all the minerals, vitamins, all that stuff. And like when you cook it, you lose some of that and you're focused more on macronutrients. And so I know a lot about processing micronutrients as well as just processing macronutrients. Like I did my whole life, eating boiled chicken and broccoli and rice and shit like that. So that took some adjusting. I made myself sick, not in a sense of food poisoning, but just like overeating and
your feeling. Your microbiome, your gut, it's getting used to everything again, and cold food.
You know what's crazy too? That diet, that year, ever since 2022, I have never been the same. my gut microbiome completely restructured itself. I used to be able to eat the spiciest foods. I used to do like food challenges. I did like a couple food challenges on like my YouTube before with like spicy Indonesian food. I did Richie's Chicken Factory out here in Bali, like all 5 levels. That's my most viewed YouTube video. It's got 100 or 200,000. And I did a YouTube of eating all 5 in one sitting. And that was 2021. Ever since I changed my gut microbiome in 2022, I can't eat spicy foods or else I'm fucked. I can't eat like half the stuff I used to eat or else I'm totally screwed. In fact, in 2023, when I got my wife to go viral on TikTok, I got her pumped up on TikTok and we got her going in 2023, went viral on her. She gained 200,000 followers in 2 weeks in 2023. Wow. It was insane. But, hers was off of doing Indonesian food with me. So we were reviewing them together on her account. And so we did Richie's Chicken again, which I hadn't done for like 2 years. Bro, I went to the hospital. It literally hospitalized me. I had to get an IV and everything. That's how bad it was. And so that diet like completely restructured my insides, man. And now like I just have such a low tolerance for like a lot of bullshit foods, which is, it's great. It's like a blessing in disguise because it encourages me to not eat a lot of garbage that I used to eat, you know, and deep fried and sugary and whatever.
We're in a super interesting time of waking up again from our biological kind of like hunter-gatherer stages. And I've talked to some amazing nutritionists. And also we've got this like Brian Johnson, who's trying to live forever, reverse his age. We've got Andrew Huberman, who's like leading it. Everybody is different, but you're talking to the choir here. I mean, like I massively believe in organ meat. The tribes used to celebrate by eating the whole animal and the warrior would get the heart or the organ meat and stuff like that. But currently right now, this is where I'm biasly at. I refuse to take any drugs or steroids because I believe you can get it from herbs and stuff like that. And for men that are kind of listening, I suffered with, I went through a stage of like, downtime, a low testosterone, got some tests, and I had 2 options. And what I was really shocked about is the doctor on day 1 went, here you go, here's the needles, here's the prescription. I went, whoa. So you're telling me 1, I'm going to like, well, 1, it'll make me bald. 2, it might maybe not have kids and my fertility for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you might get infertile, man.
Yeah. 3, I might, grow my heart to have heart problems like Arnold Schwarzenegger got 2 bypass surgery. So I said, no, give me a chance. And I went over, this has been the last 7 years, I went on this extreme journey. I went through ancient Indian, Uvaric medicine, Chinese, and I found all these herbs. And in the last few years, and I share this on my stories and stuff, herbs that actually work as good as steroids, and I'll share them here and I'll drop them. One's called Bovine natalis. It's an African shrub, similar to the group that is for Doja agrestis and Tonka Ali that's been made commercialized. But bovine for me has worked the best. There's obviously things like ashwagandha and stuff like that if you have high cortisol, FHC and stuff like that for your thyroid. So these things do work. And a perfect example, like you're saying for your body, something will work for me that won't work for you and vice versa. But we are missing the fundamental nutrients of organ meat. Liver has weirdly omega-3s, omega-6 and omega-9s. Like, show me a food that has
liver is like an instant effect. You eat like a couple ounces of raw liver, you're supercharged. You're feeling good.
So I take the prime capsules daily because obviously the taste, fair play to you, I can't deal with it. But in the morning I'm just popping. And and what's really interesting as well, which the MD guy you mentioned up, is called methylation. So like putting, fossil fuels to convert that into gasoline, to put that into a car to drive, we're kind of missing the middle step, which is the methylation of the bioavailable nutrients. So like iron, heme iron and stuff. Beef liver allows us to methylate those nutrients and absorb them biologically. So that's why you probably eat testicles, liver and heart and get that kick straight away because it's methylating everything for you, which is super interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. There you go. So going on from that, I mean, look, that's a great, what I appreciate is you being completely honest let's not put any pins around it. You are an influencer. You are on social media. You are a big presence. You've been honest with your story, which I think your following will trust you more, which is great because I've been subject to these online gurus that have took my money. You've been subjected to it. You obviously don't give that away. You're very honest, which will, again, credit to yourself. So going on to the nutrition and things like that, where are you now with, okay, I've built this brand. This is what I've done with the raw meat. I know you touched on it earlier when we had a call a month ago, and you were saying that now your mission is to help young men get fit, get healthy, get their mentality together? Like, is that what you're doing now or aiming to do? Be more into the coaching side of things?
No, so yes and no. I spent a lot of time last year trying to figure out how to build a community that I wanted to build. And I just couldn't pinpoint what I wanted to do and what I wanted to do with it and how I wanted to niche it and whatever. So I've taken a step away from that the last 6 months and just gone back to focusing on personal branding or whatever. But I have a good buddy of mine out here in Bali who I recently met a few months ago, and he is very aligned with the same things that I am. He goes we go to the same church. He just had his second son. He's a big jacked fitness dude. And so when I told him about, I actually want to do specifically focus on fathers. That's my thing. So that's what I've been kind of figuring out how I want to go about it. I want to build a community around fatherhood and helping fathers become a better version of themselves through fitness and whatever, but then also obviously tackling all the things that are necessary, like getting your mental right and your relationship with God right and your money right and being a better, not just father, but husband or whatever. So anyway, we have a meeting, we have a phone call literally today, later this afternoon, to talk about that. So it's funny you brought that up. Yeah, that is not relevant now in terms of, there's nothing going on with that right now, but it's something that's in the talks and hopefully will be built this year, because I would like to have some sort of business that is strictly focused on growth and impact rather than just, focus on products and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be my little info product type thing that I'm doing with coaching community, whatever you want to call it. I just want to make sure that I don't want a money grab, and I don't want it to be a wealth offer. Everyone always focuses on teaching people how to make money, but then nobody focuses on the personal development side of things. And then you got so many people making money, but they're still depressed and fucking clueless on what to do with their life. Got no relationship with God. They've got no sense of family and love and partnership with a spouse or anything like that. So, they have no sense of what actually matters and what to do with the money. So they just buy a bunch of luxury, materialistic, dumb shit that means nothing, and then they're depressed because they just wasted their money on it. So, yeah, bro, I don't want to make another wealth offer of make 10K a month and blah blah blah. And that was what I was going to do last year because it's what I'm good at, right? I am good at that. Obviously, look what I've done with social media. Look how I've built my following organically on TikTok. That is not Instagram, but look how I've built this presence for myself, and look how I've monetized it. I'm good at it, but I'm not passionate about that. I'm passionate about the whole picture, right? Money is part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. I'm passionate about what really matters. Money's just the byproduct, and money's just the tool, and it's not actually the end result. Whereas all these people think that money is the end result. Oh, you become a millionaire, that's it, you're done, dude. It's no, dude. Most of you little Instagram 20-year-olds that are good at trading crypto and shit like that and e-com don't know the first thing about raising a family, don't know the first thing about having a real relationship with God, don't know the first thing about being a good man, husband, boyfriend, partner, whatever. And that's the stuff that matters the most. Now that I've got the money, I don't even really care about it. I just want to hang out with my kids all day, So anyway, that is that's why I want to focus on fatherhood and being a better husband and being a better man, which is why I'm going to do that with my buddy here. So that's that. And then for the money side of things, because obviously I want to do a lot in this life and I want to help more people. I've started donating to charities every month, which has been really cool. I partnered with a charity out here called Rescue 2000. They're in Bali, and so they do little food runs where they'll drop off a whole bunch of noodles, eggs, oils, rice to a bunch of locals in northern Bali that live in those real beat up villages, not the ones down here in Canggu, of course, but the ones who are really struggling. So we'll do those. And then they also build homes. So they're scouting for some areas to build homes right now. And then that's my next goal, is to build a couple of homes. So yeah, I do that. And then I also have I also found an orphanage out in Uganda, Africa, who I've been personally donating to, and then also helping coordinate others to donate to them as well. They've got
20 some kids there, like all under the age of 10, I believe, or I don't know. I think the youngest one's like 2, the oldest one's like 13 or something like that. But anyway, yeah. So I've been doing a lot more stuff like that really matters. And so because of that, I want to scale my income to be able to do more shit like that. So the way that I'm planning to do that is now I've got the whole social media monetization thing figured out, and I'm making the money from the content. I'm making the money from, the brand deals and whatever. And that's great, but that's not a long-term play in my opinion. What the long-term play is capitalizing on your personal brand with building another brand. And so that's what we're doing right now with this blue drink I have. I'm building that. I'm going to launch that in Bali and get that going.
Do you have a name or any information on that for the moment, or?
Not yet, but I mean, if you follow me on social media, you'll be able to see it for sure. Yeah. Obviously. But yeah, the blue drink will be it's coconut water, blue spirulina, salt, and lime. Those are the only 4 ingredients. Can't tell you the measurements, but but yeah, that's a really awesome drink. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I drink it every day. I've been drinking it during this podcast. I finished the whole bottle during this podcast, but it's a great drink. It's all about optimal hydration. That's why I love it so much. And that's why I drink it, I drink multiple bottles a day. I drink like 2 or 3 liters a day. My kids go through two or 3 liters between the two of them. They drink it like a fish. And so we're going to scale that and get that going and build the brand for that. And then my other goal is to build some sort of food establishment out here in Bali, because obviously I'm a big foodie, right? A lot of people follow me for the food videos and not so much. Tell me one raw meat restaurant in the world. Like, I don't think there is one.
No, it wouldn't be that, brother. I mean, I don't know. I'm big on sushi and I love eating my raw salmon and stuff like that. But I love burger. I'm a big burger guy, and I love cuisine, man. I love culinary art, and so I'm Bali's a cool place for that, because there's everything, every type of food and every type of restaurant is in Bali. So I have a lot of fun doing that, and that for me is something that I truly enjoy. So I would love to open up a little restaurant here, which is what I plan to do. And I'm going to call it Uncle Pauly's as I go by, and everyone knows me as Uncle Pauly now in Bali, and everyone always recognizes me and my wife and my kids. Everywhere we go, someone knows us now. That's interesting too.
And Bali's in this safe place, man. Like, I grew up in like the middle of England. It was like you couldn't walk at night. Like, America's pretty rough, and in terms of like the gang. So you go about Bali, you've got kids, and I was there only a month ago. Like, it's got the safest, nicest, welcomest feeling. So like that, those things matter, man. Like where you're living, the weather, the safety, where your kids are going to school, family life. Like Bali, I suppose it does a lot of things for you for that. Yeah.
It's good. It's a good place to raise a family and have a little bit more freedom. You got a lot of accessibility to stuff out here, and a lot of stuff for the kids. The one thing that I do miss about the States is having bigger roads to drive a car on.
Oh yeah, no, that's crazy.
Driving a car in Bali is the least optimal thing ever that you could ever do. So, obviously we just had our 3rd kid, and it's like, okay, kind of want to get a car for certain trips soon, right? It's not like we're traveling a lot, because we got 3 boys under 3 years old. I mean, we're pretty hunkered down right now for the most part. But we do want to go to America next year, and we do want to take more trips throughout Bali as a family. And so we rent a car for like a day or two whenever we need it, which is fine. But at some point, I'd like to buy a car and go more places together, and that's not optimal here. So there's like little things, but overall it's great, man. So my thought is like, you know what, while we're growing this family, we're building this family, and it's so new, I'm still so new at this whole dad thing and husband thing, and it's crazy. Everything happens so fast. I'm still learning every day. I still make my mistakes, and I'm still growing and just figuring everything out as I go, and trying to be the best man that I could be in every way possible. The best man of God, and the best family man and husband and father that I could be. And because of that, and we're just like growing together as a family, it's like, you know what, I'm going to stay in Bali for a little while, and I'm going to build here, because I was thinking as soon as like I was going to get back to the States, but now I'm starting to realize it's just not optimal to do that, and it's very difficult
to do that as well. And I've got so much going on out here and so much opportunity here that it would kind of be foolish to leave before I got that all built. So that's why I'm like, okay, you know what? Build a drink business here, get a restaurant or two, get some real estate, buy a house. We want to buy a house this year because my wife's Indonesian, so we can own it. If you're not Indonesian, you can't outright own a home here. You have to leasehold it, and you lease it for like 25 years, 30 years. It's just like long-term rent. It's crazy. It's stupid. I would never want to do that. So we can own a home and freehold it. It's called. And freehold means you have permanent ownership. So we want to buy a home, and then I want to get some rental property. So I'm like, you know what, man? Forget America right now. I'm going all in on Bali. I'm going to build everything I can here. Own a home so I can never have to worry about renting or having to move my stuff again. I've got a home, and I'm going to build a couple businesses, and I'm going to get everything situated here so that when I leave, I know everything is good here, because we're not leaving forever. We love Bali, and we're always.
Hopefully there's not another pandemic when you hit down in America.
I got to make sure of that too, man. Oh my God, can you imagine? I mean, hey, you know what? In case of that too, right? It's like, got to make sure everything's good here. So I'm going to stay here for a little while and build everything. We do want to take a trip to the States next year. That's like the goal, is to go to America next year for maybe a month, 1 month, and go see all my family, because my wife and kids had never been. They've never gone. My wife has only traveled outside of Indonesia one time. She's been to Thailand one time with her sister. Her and her sister went to Thailand one time, and that was it. Other than that, she's never been out of Indonesia. She's from a small village where her childhood was not the best. So to get her out and see America, meet my family.
Well, why not? And that's why you build those opportunities for your family with what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I on YouTube the other day, I swear to God, all 5 influencers had a video about in Bali for a month. So what I'm saying is that Bali is the place to be, not to network, to set up the businesses. You'd be surprised who's coming through there every month. It's a hot spot.
No, obviously it's one of the.
Even Neil McMillan was there a month ago. There you go.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's one of the biggest tourist spots in the world right now.
It's a beautiful place. There's a lot of it. Really made me question my life. I think Australia is the greatest country in the world. I'm from the UK, rough place. But obviously, I come over here. There's beaches, there's sunshine, kangaroos. The money's great. So there's that. But Bali and Thailand and Southeast Asia really makes me question my life, because, like you say, I come to Brisbane. It's like Sydney. It's the hustle bustle. It's the suits. It's the real estate. It's the conversations you have. I'm all about it. I'm in business. Blah blah blah. But your soul does want more when you start to get to 30, 33, 34. You're like, fuck, is it family? Is it God? Is it, what is going to, you say, everyone get money, because is that going to make you happy in the long run? Do you need something deeper? And again, I'm not a girl. I don't know what they're going through. But as a man, it's a very complicated place to be for a man in 2025. You have 3 boys. My sister actually has 3 boys, and they're actually quite similar ages, so young. And I want to have these conversations as their uncle that's left England, done well, can give them these lessons that they aren't going to get. Because where we grew up, I didn't even know what a stock was until 18 years old. Money's a language. Money's a skill that in poorer areas, say where I'm from, they don't want you to know the language. And you will not learn the language until you are around other people that speak it to you. But anyone can learn it, if that makes sense, And it's, you had those experiences with Colin and going to these Instagram guys, but it opened your mind to what was possible, That's the same with me.
That's what it's all about, dude. Every time you travel somewhere or go somewhere new, it just gives you a whole new perspective on life. And that's why too, I came over here to Bali, and that was the first time traveling overseas. And then I went to Singapore, and then I went to Philippines, and I thought I was going to keep traveling. And actually after Philippines, I had already booked tickets to Australia. So I was supposed to go to Australia that year. I had a flight booked to Perth in April, and then a flight booked to Melbourne in May. So I had those next 2 trips lined up, never got to Australia. And just, you travel when you can, because it does give you a different perspective, and you think differently. And that's even just me going from Pennsylvania to Arizona, even just going to a different state of the United States, a whole different vibe, going from the East Coast with cold winters to the desert, with it's just a whole different vibe. It makes a big difference, man. It gets you thinking differently. It gets you outside the box. My biggest recommendation that everyone should do, I truly believe every single person in the world should move out of their hometown. Get out of your hometown. When you're 18 years old, move. Get out of your hometown, or at whatever point you can. Don't stay in your same hometown forever. Like that's like you're just asking to stay small.
And you got a lot of people that are now like 28-year-old guys, 30, 35, are still living with their parents and never moved out. Like they just don't. Just guys are just struggling to find direction and responsibility and just have their own life. And I think it's insane to be 32 and never have moved out home as a man anyway. And
that's wild.
It happens a lot, man. It's big in Australia and in England now, like because they just can't afford a home or to pay the rent. But so it's super interesting. But man, look, I'm not going to keep any more of your time. I mean, that was an amazing 1 hour and 40 minutes.
That was a long one.
That was good though, bro. I mean, look, for this is a really in-depth, part of your story, understanding you better as a person, which is obviously there's a lot of screens and stuff that we don't get to know you that well, to know about your business ventures. And again, congrats on the family. It's a beautiful family and everything else. And we'll be excited to see what you've got for the future.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. My closing statement to anyone listening to this right now who's interested in personal branding, just post. That's it. 2 words, nothing else. I'm not going to say anything else. Just post every day. That's it, bro.
There we go. All right, man. We're signing off until next time. Thanks again.
Cheers, brother.
See you, brother. Bye.
See you.
It's like this.